What is a talk show?
Hello and welcome to
What is a
this
hat?
talk show and
What are
podcast.
words?
My
Who
name
are
is
words?
C4. Along beside me, as
What
always,
is your
I
name?
have
don't know.
Sarah Vike to my right.
Hi.
Kitty quarter to me, I have the
That's
Great
one.
Grease Goblin.
Yay.
And below me, I have Insanieac. And hello and welcome.
You'd like that, wouldn't you?
How is everyone today?
I mean, it's not bad. So
Not a
Just
bad day.
generally sleepy, honestly.
I can imagine. I had like a 6-day work week, so I've also been super tired.
That
But
sucks.
This is
I
the
mean-
first time I've worked 5 days straight in a long time.
I got a long weekend coming ahead of me,
lucky you.
so to speak.
Oh, look at me. I'm
Have
Insanieac.
next Thursday off.
Week off.
Hey, at least you get 2 days off. I have to go back to work tomorrow. I don't even get 2 days
I know.
off.
Next week, I work Monday to Wednesday, have Thursday off, and work
Ridiculous.
Friday. It's very odd. The
Yeah,
kids are
so
not gonna like it.
we all got the shitty work schedules.
Not you.
Yeah.
It's just because of that new holiday.
What?
Next
What
Thursday
holiday?
is Reconciliation Day.
No, it's National Day of Truth and Reconciliation.
Same thing.
Is that
It's that
this,
holiday.
this?
Yeah.
What day
Next
is that?
Thursday.
Yeah, the September 30th.
Yep.
Huh?
That might pay
It was just created this year, yeah. Just a couple months
Oh, I wonder why.
ago.
I'm pretty sure there's a good reason why. Anyway, hello and welcome. Today we are talking, as you can see, well,
We
I
talk
can
a lot.
see. I can see, but my co-host can't see. But they do know what the
No.
topic is today.
I can see it.
The
can see.
topic today is collectively wrong, or otherwise known as the Mandela effect. We've talked about it a few times on the show, just indirectly.
There's
But
some interesting theories that might throw off your name for that topic.
we've never actually delved into what that is and what it means to us. And yeah, so it was actually Sarah's idea to talk about it.
I feel like that topic at the top there is very much how you feel about it.
Well, that's what it means, is when people are collectively wrong, right?
Exactly.
Is
Or
that what it
collectively
means?
right.
Is that what it means, John?
So possible, yeah.
That's exactly like that. When you boil down the meaning, the Mandela effect is everyone remembering something this way, but it doesn't actually happen that way. I mean,
There's some theories about that.
Yeah, there are. It's fascinating, really.
there
Mhm.
are some.
I see you've chosen your theory already.
There,
Yeah, remember the movie Shazam?
There are some crazy conspiracy theories that I found.
Oh, is
That
that what they are?
You remember
Crazy
the movie
conspiracy
Shazam?
theories.
They're
It's not like-
crazy
it's
conspiracy
not like one with
theories.
Sinbad sometimes.
but they're
yeah.
not really grounded in science in any facet
Mm.
or any way.
Neither are you,
Yeah,
though.
they're really not.
And
Yeah, neither,
I mean,
neither
we
are a
can-
lot of things. That
I'm
we
sure
talked about
I
either.
knew we are going to end up talking about these crazy stupid theories, but
Stupid theories now, huh? Making a stand.
just
firmly.
so everyone knows out there, I have the actual direct definition of the Mandela effect and what it is.
As
Just
the
so
dictionary
just so everyone's caught up. No,
Webster's is totally
what
up to
it's
date.
named after is a school teacher. Maybe not a school teacher, a woman in the 1980s. She remembers, along with a bunch of other people, being taught that Nelson Mandela had died in the 1980s, and there was a whole funeral
Mhm. I
and
remember
a
hearing about that.
procession and all this. But in
That's the
reality,
first recorded Mandela effect.
but it never happened. Such it was named after him. He died actually in 2017 or 2007.
Yeah, he died
or
a few
something.
years ago.
Yeah, he just died recently. But the idea is that this is a collective memory, and everyone has this memory. Another super famous one is Star Wars.
Yeah, the Luke line.
He does not
What
say,
about the other
"Luke,
one?
I am your father." He says, "No, I am your father."
What about
And
the other one? with Star
I'd like
Wars?
to throw, before we get too big into theories out or into possibilities, I want to throw a theory into your wrench that actually is slightly plausible because of the way that's slightly processed. Because I got
Slightly
want to keep on that
plausible.
topic before. Yeah.
Slightly plausible.
Slightly. So in the way of, I believe around that time, certain agencies were studying the relevancy of time travel potentially. I
What
think
time period are
don't-
you talking about here? You just
I
said
think it
it was
was
around
the
that time.
time that John was talking about. I don't
Like the
remember the
80s?
exact
80s.
year. Yeah, something like that. It was being studied and it was being looked into. And one of the theories is that because when you observe something, you create a new state in the way of physics. There's three states: the I think it's the neutral, the positive, and then there's the negative state. Neutral is usually considered the observer state, essentially. And something takes something is observed, it takes on a certain pattern, as opposed to when it's not. It usually acts as a base kind of line. So the theory is that once the idea of time and being able to move through it was observed, it then created essentially a convergence of possible theory timelines. And so you have people that have remembered things proximately because they might have had those possible memories growing up. But now that's not the case because of the convergence of when people viewed time and created essentially an observed timeline, essentially from where they are now to where it was before. But that's a theory, not 100% like that's just something that I've looked into and I've heard a number of different ones, but that's the one that seems one of the crazy ones that has a little ground to it. Still crazy, but
All right, there was a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Okay. So starting from the beginning, just try to. I'm sorry, you kind of lost me like halfway through. Could you
Yeah.
dumb that down in so many words?
Are you saying that because people studied time, we cemented time in place, so now people can't move through it the same way? That's kind of what I got from that.
in a sense, because time is technically all states, the past is happening the same time as the present and the future. It's just happening in a different time of its own.
Isn't that what
If you
makes it the past and
perceive
the
it that
future,
way,
though?
but no,
Well, that's what that's what
the most
physicists is going to.
the most prevalent theory about what time is time doesn't exist until it happens, but once it's happened, it's set in stone. That's
That's what I
why
mean. It's essentially that's we're kind of saying the same thing. It's because
I'm
it's
not sure
like
that you are.
what's the idea?
it's theoretically all possibilities until it happens.
What do they call it? It's like
The butterfly effect, more or less.
no, they call it it's
No.
like the cascading water effect. Like you have a piece of dry stone and imagine time is like just you take a bucket of water and you cascade it down. The part in front that isn't wet is part that isn't written. But as you
Yeah,
move down, it writes time, it gets wet. But you can move faster. Like you can take a droplet of water and move it all the way down the rock faster than the rest of the rock. But in order to move everything back, you would have to literally grab all the water from all across the rock and pull it all the way back up in its entire trail. And one is harder
yeah.
than the other. And
Well, travel is that's a whole big theory in
but
itself.
that's why the idea is like
Space.
the only way you could move backwards in time, or the only way that time travel would work, move backwards, because the past is so sediment, would be you would have to do the loop theory that they do in Futurama. But I don't understand what's this got to do with being collectively wrong. I thought you were going to go with the theory that collective
Universe
wrong
hopping?
memory is
Oh,
multiple universes, and
yeah.
like everyone
Yeah,
is
that's what I've
there
heard.
in one of the
No, not
multiverses.
so much.
Nelson Mandela died in 1980, and
Yeah,
then
but
the
in
reason
prison.
people remember things differently is because in different multiverses they happen, and so people get glimpses into
See,
those
the way
multiverses.
that I'm kind of seeing it more is because it's I see it more in the way that the Avengers kind of explain time, where many different times are kind of happening at the same time, but they're not convergent until certain things happen to
You
trigger
mean
that, right?
that's the you mean
That's the way I kind of see
you mean just the ever branching theory of time
it, in a sense, but
where
it's there's more to it. I just mean the way that there's like a timeline, and it's because it explained a bit more in Loki, I guess.
You
but
think
it's,
there's a main timeline? There's
no, I don't. No, I don't. What I'm
That's
saying,
what
it goes back to
the
that. It's going
Marvel
back to
one
that observed state. Is what I'm saying. Is that time was ever open to all possibilities in a sense, and it's all acting at one state. It's present and past and future all act in the same
I
state.
just don't
except it's different
understand
to
what's
observe.
this got to do with being everyone
Because when you
remembering something differently.
because they're not remembering it differently. They experienced it differently, and then once that time got observed, all these collectives got pushed into the same time space, essentially,
How?
Are you just arguing
because it was
like
observed.
wait.
It sounds to me
I
like
got
you're
it. I got it. I
talking
got it. I
about,
got it.
like,
I got it. I got it. I got
you
it.
mentioned Loki.
It's
It sounds to me like you're
hold on.
legitimately talking about the TVA, like pruning timelines and
Hold
getting
on.
rid
Hold
of
on. Hold on.
people
No, Sarah.
That's not
Sarah, I
even.
got
That's
it.
not
I got
even
it.
close.
I got it.
Not even
Finally-
close.
I finally understand what the fuck he's talking about. It's like Schrodinger's cat on crack. As long as it's not observed or time hasn't happened, there is no set answer. But once
Yeah, it's
it's been
theoretically all states in a
observed,
sense.
even if it's in different states and times, like people seeing like the Polybius machine in some arcades, but some people don't see it. Like, it's not that it didn't exist. The idea is that his idea is that once it's observed, it creates a state of matter, and then it then becomes part of that reality. My question
Exactly.
to you then is, if that was possible, then how do these things fade out? How is it these people that have observed the actual funeral of Nelson Mandela do not exist in that universe if that was what they observed? By your theory, by your exact theory, as soon as they observe it, they would submit their place in that universe where that actually happened.
And it's because perhaps in that series of events, time travel wasn't exactly observed, and where this time did, it then created that point where essentially many came to one. It was observed across other states, not just one state, and created one
What's
timeline.
this got to
that
do
was
with
observed.
time travel?
It's not to do with time travel. It's people remembering things from a different, essentially, realm of existence, and then having that dimension converge into the same one as other times exist in the same state.
So you are talking about
It's based on physics.
people in different universes then.
It's multi-dimensional theory, but coexisting with the observance of time travel, essentially.
No, that doesn't.
I'm still lost.
I'm following. That's the worst part. Is I'm confused because I'm following, because I understand what you're saying, but you're talking in loops. Like, if what you're saying is like goes back to my point. If you're talking about the observable universe, as soon as it's observed, it becomes sedimentary. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
So once you observe something, once it is sediment in your mind, you've become a part of that narrative. So you're but then okay, let's entertain your thought.
Because remembering,
but then
sorry,
yeah, so entertaining your thought, and let's say these people do experience that, but then how could they leave that universe? Because then they've obviously made the drift over to ours. So at what point did they make that drift? Because how would they remember something collectively different? God, this is so much different than I thought this conversation would go.
I know what you mean. See, and it's the idea is because they have their past, right? Their past they remember clearly, and when time was observed at that certain time, the people that have still experienced that past will remember past the way they experienced it.
No, I get it. You're talking about what to use Marvel's idea, a nexus event or a we'll say a sedimentary point in time. You're talking about a point in time where there's a decision made, where there's a split in the different universes. But at the same time,
but this one, it's
you're
the opposite.
telling me
it didn't split; it came together. This is what this decision has made.
Yeah, again, it's like where this is the split. This is where they nebula together. But at the same time, once you observe something, because I get that. I'm not against you on this. I'm just saying.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Once you observe it, why wouldn't you stay in that universe you've just observed?
Yeah.
What would drag you away?
Technically, we are. That universe has become one and the same.
But why and
that's
how?
That's the theory.
Why and how and how often?
Yeah.
And my first
through
example
the
to you-
act of observation, it creates a new state of being, essentially, in the physical
but we have a
stages
whole
of
list,
viewing.
of different things that we know not to be true, that people remember differently. So if we have, if this keeps happening to what you say, eventually the actual physical reality around us will warp, and there would be
and
evidence.
I don't see it
of
as a
countermeasure.
like a going in and out. I see it as it happened once, and then it's out now, and it was a single point.
But obviously,
and we're still
happens
in
more
that single time.
because there are examples of this happening more recently.
Yeah.
Like
The most recent one I can think of is in 2011
Okay, I haven't
with
got up to date on the recent ones.
the Transformers
If it's
movie.
a more recent timeline or
Okay.
something. Because then perhaps it is. Maybe it is something that is going like that. I thought it was. I was picturing it as a single event, and it was
Definitely
from that
not.
event prior. Other people had been remembering things differently. That's what I had learned about it. I'm not saying that's what it is. I just
No,
missed a bit of information here. if
I
that's the
get
case.
you. It's just I was so confused. Just
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a big theory, and I understand.
all of a sudden, you
And
just
it's
dive
may
into
not be
multiverse
correct.
theory. Schrodinger's cat.
Well, and it's
Well-
a state of physics and quantum theory, essentially. So it's a lot to
Well-
really process it.
I mean, yeah, that's the point of quantum theories. There's so much that's possible until we prove it's impossible. That's like we
Yeah.
know.
But
Like,
even in that case, though,
here's-
in some universes, it's possible for the impossible to be possible.
Here's something fun to
Yeah.
chomp on. We
Because
know
technically
there's
nothing is
only
impossible.
11 different dimensions. And by that I don't mean like multiverses. I mean in terms of dimensions of states of being. We know there's only 11. And that's because math proves it. Math by using math,
Yeah.
we're able
No, I
to
know what you
prove
mean,
there's only 11
numerology.
different dimensions. So we know there's no more. So we live in the third dimension, but we know there's a whole nother set, 8 after us.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a series. Yeah,
Which is
see,
fun.
it could be that. It could be that multiversal purpose. Like I'm not sure. So full on the potential aspects. It's just the theory of the viewing of essentially of time travel essentially made it so.
where did you
caused
hear
a number
all
of things
this?
to happen at the same time. From viewing stuff online, Reddit, and
See, 'cause that's-
Google and different.
like,
It's a theory, like I said. I don't
but
have 100% stake in
that's
it.
so
I haven't
dangerous.
Made one
'Cause
that's
here's
I put
the
my life
thing.
on.
I just like to point this out. So Grease Goblin, you got lost in what we were talking about. If I didn't sit here and actually fight back and listen to Andrew and know what I was talking about, would you have thought that Andrew knew what he was talking about? Would you?
Not at all.
No, but if you were just
That's
some
okay.
random
It
bystander,
takes a bit to explain it, and like you said, if I don't always explain things as well as you can articulate
it's
it.
not about
I'll be
that. It's the level of in depth of these theories that people go into.
Yeah.
But
Fair
but
enough.
when you have like, I'm not saying I'm a physicist or anything, but I took enough of philosophy that
Mhm.
when you start talking about different theories and different multiverses, and I start listening, I'm like, wait a second, because physics isn't philosophy. That's something a lot of people seem to mess up.
No, it's not the same.
So when people bring in like people like to talk about Schrodinger's cat, and sure, that's not philosophy though. That's a quantum physics probability.
Yeah, that's a scientific test.
Yeah. That's not the idea like, oh, it's there or not. No, that's an actual like
Yeah. I use a lot of basic science experiments to kind of try to explain some of my stuff. It's hard to kind of
Oh, do
pick
you?
up. It's
How basic?
well, because the two slit experiment for lights. The
I would
way
like
that
to point out the
establishes
whole
how
time,
atoms
so-
travel.
Sorry, I just wanted to point out the whole time Sara Vike has been like knitting while we're
Knitting,
talking.
yeah.
Sewing.
I'm not knitting, I'm sewing.
Yep.
You're
Big difference.
sewing.
I'm making a dress. It's almost done.
Oh, that's so
Ooh.
pretty.
Thank
So
you.
nice.
I think so.
All right, please
I don't
continue.
have to-
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I actually almost forgot what we were talking about.
Nice sewing.
How
so
collectively
distracting.
wrong you always are.
See, it's just remembering it differently. That's what it is. Um, the two light experiment essentially it talks about how atoms can essentially be in all directions at the same time, instead of just one or the other, like positive or neutral.
No, the two light experiment. When you have two lights, okay. First, what do you mean by the two light experience? Hold on.
So the base setup for the light experiment is essentially when you block off one light, one hole, the light travels through the other, and when you block off another hole, the light travels through the other hole, right?
Yes.
But the idea is when you don't block off either, the light travels through all holes. It doesn't just go through one, right?
Yes. But
that means it travels in all directions.
Well, no, it travels in all directions away from the source because it's both a particle and a wave. It also moves. Light also moves around corners, right? Even in a vacuum, it reflects around corners just because of the way a photon behaves. But I don't understand what's this concept.
For a time, people the idea is that the belief was that it was only one side or the other. It wasn't belief that it could travel in all directions on an atomical scale.
Yes, and then they realized that light is both a particle and a wave, and so therefore
in like the 1800s.
Both.
But you're right. Like before that, you're right. So I'm still waiting.
I'm just lost on what I had in mind because sometimes I get certain thoughts confused.
It's okay.
There's the experiment. It recently with quantum theories. They had discovered something more about it. I don't quite remember all of it at the top of my head, man. I looked a lot of this stuff up quite some time ago, but
so you're okay. Just to break this down, so your position on the Mandela effect or collectively remembering something wrong is a quantum incongruity in our collective consciousness that's somehow either reacting
I didn't say that's
or
exactly
reflecting.
What I believe,
no,
I just
no,
say that's a theory.
This is the theory okay, then the theory is that that we are reflecting or somehow absorbing the other collective, we'll say psychic consciousness of another entire society of humanity that's living in a parallel multiverse. And so some people are affected by this because reality is warped in that moment. In that brief moment, the two universes collide or somehow move back together, that they somehow create the paradigm shift in which things like this happened. This is what you've been trying.
That's what I was trying to explain. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's a lot more technical. Yes. In a way,
I agree. I agree.
The thought process of how to explain it.
But now that I've heard your whole thing, I can break it down.
Yeah.
But that was that is definitely one way to come out of the gates. I won't lie. That's one.
Yeah.
That's
theory.
Right. That's one way to.
And like you said, you know all the crazy theories. You've heard them once, so I wanted to kind of set the stage of a weird one that's out there.
For the no, there's none of the theories I have are that crazy. That was putting your flag on the mountain, sir, and saying I stand alone. Holy!
I've heard that one out there before. Yeah.
Where's Panther when you need him?
Right.
Exactly.
I'm sure he'd have lots to say on the topic.
Gotta dive off the deep end once in a while, guys.
Shout out to Panther out there if you haven't seen the Aliens Are Real episode. I really suggest you do.
Deep theories with Insanieac.
Wow, yeah, deep theories with Insanieac. Anyway, I was gonna say, I just think it's because, I always found, because I took English and philosophy and political science, and in my 7 years of university, that I always found that people remembered things wrong.
Yeah,
because it fits their narrative. People have always been against, I guess, opposing facts. So a good one that I always thought of right away is I always ask people, especially Americans, or people that always harp on the Republican Party in America. I always ask them, like, well, I mean, now it's more prevalent, like now it's spread out more. But I remember for a while, a lot of people believed that Abraham Lincoln was a Democrat, and that the Democrats were in the North and the Republicans were in the South. And I have to remind them that no, Abraham Lincoln was a Republican leader, and all those Democrats and all those wonderful blue Tories that always reach out and tell you that they're so awesome and up to date. They are hoping that you don't dig into their past, because they were the slave owners.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just to put on the bait, I do totally believe the whole collectively wrong thing. I totally think that everything is like a series of many misremembered situations that everyone just seems to blow out of proportion.
Oh yeah. The app, I get it. The obligatory. I'm not crazy. I just I just know the in-depth knowledge.
Because there's ones that I believe and I understand
The
why.
twists and
Because
turns of this one crazy.
say the Star Wars one with "No, I am your father." A lot of people in the way of reading English would probably read it easier as the name first because of who is identifying saying the phrase, right? Who it's to.
I'm sorry.
So you're reading it easier in your mind, and it makes it easier to understand. And then as a kid, or people who heard it younger, and there's lots of times where people want to hear what they think they want to hear.
I love how your name is Insanieac, but you're trying to convince us that you're not crazy.
Aren't you the one that fights both sides, Mr. Devil's Advocate? I
definitely because it's fun. I mean,
but it's true though.
Sometimes
I'm willing to put out the weirdness, but
that's in an argument. That's when I get into an argument and people
I do it with debates.
That's different though. No, I disagree.
I do it with debates. I find it more educational to see both sides to form a more rounded opinion.
Well, yeah, but it's not got to.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
I guess I agree with you.
Well, now I forgot my point. Thank you. I forgot what I was saying. Your long-winded apology.
I completely lost what we were talking about with Sarah and her knitting.
I'm not knitting. Big difference.
So
exactly. See,
but
someone's paying.
We are the talk show of off topics.
C4, you mentioned earlier that I was really excited about this topic, and that's true. Do you want to know why?
Everyone remembers things wrong all the time around you, and you have an impeccable memory, so you constantly correct people.